Joining me from Institute for Reforming Government, or he's not really there right now because he's somewhere in an undisclosed location up in God's country in the North Woods, our good friend Jake Curtis. Good morning, Jake. How are you?
Great, Meg. How are you?
Good. I suppose I shouldn't have outed that you are up north, but hey,
No.
we all
Hey, we
aspire
talk.
to be up north.
Yeah, we talk about it all the time. We love it up here. We love the Mantua Waters, kind of Boulder Junction area. So we're enjoying a few days up here. And we had the debate, like everybody on our last IRG call. You know, where does up north actually start? And my
Oh,
thought always is like, you know, I grew up vacationing in central Wisconsin. So in the Milwaukee area, if you're going to, Wautoma, that is up north. And I would just argue that's distinct from the North Woods,
hmm.
which obviously you got to be north of Wausau, I would argue.
I would say north of Highway 8, maybe.
Sure. Yeah.
Or even maybe a little bit south too, because there's a lot of Tomahawk exits. So I
Correct.
mean, I would say Tomahawk and beyond would be considered up north, and
Sure.
hey, it could also be, you could argue that it's a state of mind too. So
Yeah, well,
I
and I guess that's when, as a kid, as a kid growing up in the Milwaukee area, going up to Wautoma was going up north, which, I think North Woods people would be offended by that, but it was north.
they would laugh
Um,
heartily and say,
right,
"Oh, no," but
right,
it's and listen, I like the Watoma area too. I mean, we've for years, my husband and I, well, and it goes back a long time. It goes back all the way to my mother-in-law's infancy. My on my on my husband's side, their family has gone to the same resort in the in the Wild Rose area
sure,
since a long time, and I mean, and they had the same cabin every year, and those resorts, whether it's up north Watoma or up north Tomahawk or even farther north Boulder Junction area, I mean, they are kind of dying out, and it's really sad to see because I sort of feel like it's a slice of Americana when and I mean I think of, I know it's completely different, the setting of Dirty Dancing, but that's sort of, you think of this idyllic I well memory of your up north summers and going to a resort, and even just my husband talked about how he used to hang around with the same kids every year at this resort that they stayed at in the Wild Rose area. And I mean, it's just memories that stay with you, and it's kind of like our kids don't get those if all the or future generations don't get those memories because those resorts are all disappearing.
yeah. Well, and this could be a much longer conversation. Yeah, I mean, it gets to, I think, maybe how people vacation, and my kids have created tons of memories by us coming up here, and cousins have come along during some summers. So maybe different, but as long as people get up here, how they get up here is, up to them, I guess.
Well, yeah, and support all those Northwoods businesses wherever, whatever Northwoods means to you is supporting these family-owned, Wisconsin-owned
Absolutely.
business. So that's great. But okay, so let's talk the gubernatorial race. And I honestly, each week blends into the next, but I think perhaps that Governor Evers had announced that he was not going to run for re-election, and we perhaps touched on it last week. But either way, there are, there's positioning going on in both parties, and of course we are in the Northwoods anticipating, very with great anticipation, the announcement from Congressman Tom Tiffany.
Yeah, I actually don't think the announcement was made when you and I spoke last, because that is obviously big news. When you have a two-term incumbent governor announcing that he's not running again, I mean, you gotta look at. There's only a few examples. Obviously, you have Governor Walker running for a third term, and unfortunately, that was unsuccessful. In 2010, when you had Governor Doyle, um, having served two terms, and we all kind of waited around, similar to this go around. where everybody was waiting in 2010. What is Governor Doyle going to do? Obviously, a 3-term attorney general, 2-term governor would have been formidable, but there definitely was this sense that Wisconsin was just on the wrong track, and then he obviously announces that he was not running, and we had Scott Walker with a, by Wisconsin standards, a relatively comfortable victory. And so, these decisions, and obviously Tommy Thompson is his own lane, having won 4 times. So this was a big decision from Governor Evers. No doubt, had he chosen to run again, certainly nothing's guaranteed in Wisconsin politics, but 2-term successful governor, for whatever reason, there is this kind of juxtaposition in our polling and other polling showing that there isn't really a level of satisfaction with the direction of the state, yet he has often been in that 54-55% approval territory, which is that's a pretty solid spot for an incumbent to be in. Not, we're not talking 60%, but at 55%, that's kind of outside the margin, and that's telling you a majority of Wisconsinites support him as an incumbent, as a office holder, but not necessarily the direction of the state. So again, there was kind of like this juxtaposition going on, and him deciding not to run, I think, just blows this whole thing open. There's definitely going to be jockeying on the left. So on the left, you have the Lieutenant Governor Rodriguez already announcing. Pretty interesting timeline there, where she puts on YouTube the week before the official announcement her announcement video, and then I believe it was Milwaukee area talk radio host Dan O'Donnell kind of calling her out. Now the governor is distancing himself from her statement. So just interesting politics on the left. But she's announced, I believe, County Executive Crowley has announced as well, Milwaukee County Executive Crowley. And then others are thinking about it. A.G. Call certainly is going to be in the mix. Sarah Godlewski, who's always in today's political climate, where the suburban female voter is really critical, she always struck me as somebody that would be really tough in a general statewide. That's somebody with money. She has, I think, personal funds. She's currently Secretary of State, previously Treasurer.
Didn't win by election, though, right?
No, she just kind of seems to glide along and get appointments and in offices that, frankly, don't really do all that much. But look, she's a female from the suburbs, and she has access to money. I mean, when you're looking at these races, that's the stuff you got to look at. Unfortunately, I wish we had, frankly, more focus on policy. But it's kind of profile and how people resonate statewide. But she, I believe, I just read this morning, she's looking at lieutenant governor, because obviously Rodriguez would have to give up her lieutenant governor position to run for governor. So that's really the field on the left right now. Other names, Mandela Barnes, boy, I would love it if he ran. That guy does not seem to resonate with anybody in the state. He may be part of the conversation as well. So look, before we move on to the Republican field, I do want to make the point: you start to see some of this narrative on the left, online regarding the left and what the field looks like. Do not underestimate this field. I just really hate when you go on Twitter and Facebook, whatever, and you have these people talking about the weak candidates on the left. I may not support them politically at all, as far as what they stand for from a policy standpoint, but don't underestimate this field. Even somebody like Rodriguez. The reality is, as conservatives statewide, we have a real challenge where the suburban voters outside Milwaukee, Dane County, and Dane County is to the point where they basically have their own suburbs as well. The difference is there's a lot of middle-aged, educated individuals that have not at all transitioned into voting conservative like we've seen outstate. And so demographically, some of these candidates I think could really resonate with some of these voters. And so conservatives are going to have a fight on their hands in 2026. And I think we can be successful, but don't underestimate the field. I think it's a huge mistake when people kind of want to underestimate these candidates because they haven't accomplished anything. They may not. I mean, that may be an accurate statement, but don't underestimate their ability to win statewide. And because I think some of these candidates would be disastrous for advancing any sort of conservative policies. On the right, we're going to have to think long and hard about who we put forward to run statewide in a very important race. Obviously, we have Washington County Executive Josh Schoeman, who has already announced and has been, frankly, campaigning very hard across Wisconsin. I know Josh; he's a good friend, great kind of conservative reformer within the county world, which is not an easy thing to do. I think there are a lot of people that get into county government, which I think is really critical level of government, and they just kind of want to continue to kind of push forward the status quo, and that hasn't been Josh. I mean, he has been viewed, I think, as a real reformer in that space. Has certainly tried to work with people, ironically, like County Executive Crowley. I believe they have a good relationship. Because you're actually in the role of county executive, you have to try to get stuff done. So Josh, I think, is going to be formidable. His weakness could be fundraising. I mean, this is unfortunate. People like Josh, who have dedicated their life to public service, don't necessarily have that fundraising apparatus that somebody who maybe comes out of the private sector, the corporate world, may have. So that's going to be Josh's challenge. I think he had a good first report. Kind of from that more CEO role would be former Navy SEAL, now runs a manufacturing company out of Waukesha, Bill Berrien. I think he set up a leadership pack, which essentially means he's running. So he may have significant fundraising ability. The question for Berrien is going to be, does he have kind of the policy chops to actually get out there and advocate for conservative reforms? Again, he has some upside, former Navy SEAL and CEO, so he kind of comes from that executive CEO type profile, which I think always can serve well in obviously when you're serving as governor. So he's going to be formidable. He has some questions. He's advocated for ranked choice voting, which is a problem, and I viewed it as either he just was asked to kind of serve on this board and said yes and didn't really give it a lot of thought, or he actually supports ranked choice voting. In either case, he's going to kind of have to explain that because that, from a conservative standpoint, I'm not sure really any conservative supports that approach to any sort of election integrity. So, and then the third, as you said, the third one is going to be potentially Congressman Tiffany. I think rightfully viewed as a conservative leader in the state for a number of years. When I worked for Senator Strobel in the legislature, he was always viewed as a strong conservative voice, kind of part of that conservative caucus, and obviously now in D.C. doing great things, a strong conservative voice. And as you said, from the North Woods, that's an interesting dynamic. Historically, Southeast Wisconsin has kind of with the robust talk radio and a lot of donors that are able to help fund these campaigns. I mean, Southeast Wisconsin has kind of been viewed as the engine of the conservative movement. But now you have somebody like Tom Tiffany out of the North Woods, maybe even a changing dynamic when you look at like the Fox Valley, North Woods, even Western Wisconsin during kind of this Trump era, and maybe a realignment. Could somebody like Congressman Tiffany come out of a contested primary, even beating somebody from Southeast Wisconsin? It's certainly possible, and he would be formidable as well. So I think the Republicans are going to have a strong field. I think, again, we have to be objective. Don't underestimate opponents. I think the Democrats are going to have a strong field as well. And so the question is, for conservatives, who's the individual that's going to best fight for some of the policies that, frankly, like IRG, right? We don't necessarily do politics. We care about who's running because we want to see candidates that support things like eliminating the income tax, right? You and I have talked about this in the past, Meg. And if we truly want to be competitive as a state, we have to think boldly. And we're really the only group that has laid out a very clear position on what we would have to do as a state to actually eliminate the income tax. Because we talk about the people the young folks that we're losing to Florida and Texas and Tennessee, New Hampshire, the state of Washington. Well, why? What's the thing that all these states have in common? It's no income tax. And so we have to think about things like that. When you look at this last budget, if we're serious about bold reforms like eliminating the income tax, we have to get serious about spending. There certainly were some good things in this budget, some real tax relief. The problem is spending exploded, and that's something that we have to take seriously if we want to eliminate income taxes and have these bold reforms, reduce property taxes. And so, again, we don't do politics, but we care because we want the strongest candidate that's going to be able to advance the kind of the kitchen table issues that we care about.
So, Jake Curtis, do you have a favorite personally for governor?
Oh, geez.
You don't have to answer it. It's just, I like to throw it out there.
Look, I think
it's our last time together. I got to put a little pressure on you.
I know. Well, look, I'll put it this way. I think all three, and I'm putting Congressman Tiffany in this category, all three candidates right now have some very good qualities that conservatives should consider. I love that Josh has real executive experience in government. I think it's really important for a governor to have. Now, you can make the same argument about Berrien. Obviously, I love the fact, and Josh has military experience as well. He served in Iraq. I love that Berrien has that executive experience and also service as a Navy SEAL. I mean, he's going to have to explain his position on ranked choice voting, and that is a real Achilles heel. Also, my understanding is, he advanced some pretty strict policies or requirements during COVID. I mean, for me personally, that's kind of a litmus test type issue. I understand that was a difficult situation, but boy, if you're coming down hard on the ability of people to operate, go about their daily lives, I mean, for me, that's a real problem. Like I said, Congressman Tiffany, I mean, personally, I will say when we go out for IRG to D.C., sometimes it's hard to, I won't name names here, but even with some Wisconsin congressional offices, not always easy to get in. I think every time we've gone out to D.C., we have personally met with Congressman Tiffany in his office. I think the last time we were out there, his staff basically had to kick us out because Congressman Tiffany and Chris and the reader and I were sitting in his office having a very robust conversation about administrative law reforms. And so I think that's really telling about somebody like Congressman Tiffany, that he takes the time. And we weren't talking politics. We were talking real policy issues because I think he cares. Mm-hmm. And so again, I think
he's informed, and he knows
the issues.
Doing.
He knows
mm-hmm.
the issues.
Mm-hmm.
And same with Josh. I mean, you sit down with Josh, he knows the issues. He cares. I think obviously cares deeply about Wisconsin, but he truly cares about policy. And I will say that. I mean, so maybe instead of picking one out, I would say I would really encourage Wisconsinites to ask these candidates tough questions, and I think by doing so, that will reveal, again, they should have, at IRG, we want to eliminate the income tax. Ask these candidates how they feel about that. And I mean, that is a fundamental type issue, because if we're not competitive on that, we're not going to be competitive as a state. I'm pretty confident Congressman Tiffany and County Executive Shulman will have a very strong opinion on that. and we'll be able to articulate why we need to eliminate the income tax. And so ask real policy questions, I guess is my point. Ask about, child care reform. Ask about, MPS, all the work we've done. Quentin Clavon at IRG does amazing work when it comes to MPS and DPI and holding MPS accountable. Whether you're from the Northwoods or you're from the city of Milwaukee itself, we all know that we can't have just absolutely failing public school systems, whether it's MPS or Kenosha or Racine or Green Bay, right? Just go across the state. We can't have kids graduating that can't read. This is really basic stuff. And so the next governor is going to have a very clear and well-articulated position on how do we improve MPS? How do we make DPI hold MPS accountable? Quentin has done, frankly, he's been breaking news the last year, monitoring these deadlines and whether or not DPI is actually holding MPS accountable for meeting these deadlines. And I know you and I have talked about this, Meg. It's not just MPS, right? When MPS fails, school funding formulas can be impacted, and other districts can be their financing can be impacted. And it's not just raw dollar numbers, right? Are they actually being held accountable into standards such that these dollars are actually going towards improving reading scores, math scores of these kids? And if they're not, these districts need to be held accountable. So again, the next governor has to have a strong opinion on that.
Hey, Jake, I got to let you go. I got another guest coming up, and I got the 10:30 news break. I want to say thanks so much for giving your time every week, every Wednesday, Wonderful Wednesday, from Institute for Reforming Government's perspective, and really, truly, and yours as well. I really enjoyed getting to know you, and look forward to keeping in touch.
I would love to, and thank you, Meg. IRG really appreciates you giving us an opportunity to talk about our work and talk about what makes Wisconsin great. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Enjoy your time up north, and I know we'll talk again soon. Take care.
Thanks, Meg.
Bye-bye.